Welcome to Midlife. Now what? Unfiltered conversations between two women who are smack in the middle of it all. This is for every woman who's ever thought, wait, is this it?
One married, one divorced, both raising kids, redefining careers, balancing family, and rediscovering who we are in this next chapter.
We talk about everything no one posts about, from identity and relationships to purpose, parenting, and all the shifts that come with it.
Because midlife isn't a crisis, it's a reawakening and a reconnection.
Some days it feels like starting over.
Other days, it feels like finally coming home to yourself.
Hey, you're not alone. So grab your coffee
Or your wine.
and let's get honest about all of it.
Midlife, now what? Streaming wherever you listen to podcasts.
Do you ever wake up, look around your life, and think, how did I end up here? Like, this isn't that bad, but it's just not me.
Yeah, I feel like that. I'm constantly starring in a show that I didn't even audition for. Like, how did I even get here?
And sometimes I feel like the producer, the director, the manager, and the janitor all the time,
Yeah,
at once.
100%. Wearing all the hats.
wearing all the hats. And no one told me how to do it. No one told me how to wear all the hats.
No, how to have a career, how to be a mom, how to be a wife, how to be a friend, and how to take care of you too and not completely lose yourself in the process.
And I feel like I lose myself every single day. It's like this midlife game. I'm not ready for it yet because I still feel like I'm trying to figure out how to show up.
Yeah, completely. And I feel like when you stop to take the time to figure out how to show up, you are dropping the balls on so many other things that are important, or that your first priority is your children. So what about the kids? Or what about making sure that there's dinner on the table? And then what about my career and what I want to do and who I even am? You completely lose your identity in the process of all of it.
You do. You lose your identity, and then all of a sudden something happens and you recognize that you've lost your identity.
I think for me, the big shift in losing my identity was definitely my divorce. I feel like it was something that I wanted for so many years, but was so scared of. I'm right. 4 little kids that were attached to it, a husband, financial security, like the life that I quote unquote always wanted and chose, but was also so miserable and just felt like such a shell of a person. And was just going through the motions. And I just, rather than looking inward and trying to pause and figure out what was going on with me and how to reflect on the marriage, I was just losing myself more and more and more and just becoming this shell of a person who was just all about waking up and just going through the motions of the day and making sure everybody was happy and making sure people weren't crying and they had what they needed for school and that the husband was satisfied and happy. And honestly, it's like those last couple years before I finally asked for a divorce that I was granted, I didn't even recognize myself in the mirror.
That was your now what moment.
100%. And it's not getting, I guess, not that it's not getting any easier, but it's only continuing to evolve and it's only continuing to change and shift and realizing that like everything comes back to you and coming back home to yourself and figuring out yourself and what you want and who you are is the best way to take care of other people too. But I know that you feel something similar. I mean, I'd love to hear a little bit more about like your journey because I know you've had a hectic couple years and a lot's changed for you.
Yeah. My now what moment for this midlife season was definitely, it was kind of a slow unraveling. And it started about a year ago when my son was kicked out of school. And then within a couple months, he was hospitalized. And I was just recognizing that I was burnt out. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I stood for anymore. And that was my now what moment. It was always just like you said. It's so funny because you're talking about divorce. I'm talking about being the parent to a child that has additional needs. And I still had that same, I'm taking care of everybody else and losing myself in the process moment. And I began to recognize that once we realized that my son had a nervous system dysfunction and we needed to put everything through the lens of the nervous system, I recognized how burnt out my own nervous system was, and that in trying to suppress the dysfunction of my own nervous system, I lost my identity.
Yep. It's so true. And I know that we're going to get deep into all this nervous system work because I know it's something that is at the core of both of our healing journeys. And I know just in chatting with people like, and how you and I reconnected. I mean, we've been friends for years, but just how it's at the epicenter of everything. And every decision we make, or don't make for that matter, goes back to the nervous system. Wow. I mean, that talk about just, I feel like we both had these these aha moments, right? And we're in our late 30s, early 40s, mid 40s. I just turned 45. And you're forced to stop and look inward and stop and pause, because you know the path that you're going down is just going to destruct, is just going to make everything and everyone around you crumble. And it's hurting every relationship in your life, and you have to stop. I mean, for you to pause your career, for you to pause your everyday life and really look at Keegan and be like, oh my gosh, you need me right now, and I need to show up in the best emotional way for you. Because if that doesn't get healed, if that doesn't get nurtured, nothing else matters and nothing else works. And I don't know about you, but I was not raised that way. I was not raised to pause and stop and look inward and self-reflect and heal. I think just a lot of people in general are on that same go, 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 go survival mode, right? We're surviving, not thriving, because society doesn't set you up that way.
So when Keegan was hospitalized, I had just turned 40. So it was also this like milestone moment for me of, I just turned 40. What am I doing with myself? I finally had felt like I had the career that I had always wanted ever since I completed my PhD 10 years before. Right? This was my dream career from the time that I finished my PhD, and I had it and I was working toward it. And they were so good with me initially about giving me the flexibility I needed and everything else. But that when you look at everything from a nervous system standpoint, I realize now that the choices that I was making were choices that were being driven by my own fight or flight. But my own fight response actually was a drive to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And so this drive to succeed was actually suppressing all the anxiety and the dysfunction that I had. And so even though I felt like I was in alignment, I wasn't in alignment with myself. I was in alignment with my fight response, which was society's definition to succeed. Yep. And once I started to do the work and really dive deep into healing myself and my own nervous system, that was my holy cow, I can find my identity again, right? I can realize that the calm is okay, that it's acceptable, that my own definition of success doesn't have to be society's definition of success. And I started making choices that were in alignment with my nervous system rather than choices that were in alignment with what was suppressing my nervous system.
Yeah, coming from a place of desire, not a place of fear.
Yeah.
And survival. And you just articulate that so beautifully and so well. And just so you guys know how Erin and I even kind of got on this journey of midlife now what, we reconnected. We met through a networking system, years ago. And we reconnected through social media, and we hopped on a Zoom and we talked for like an hour and a half. And we were just like, oh my gosh, yes, I'm dealing with that. Yes, that's my healing moment. And although we have very different lifestyle setups, right? Erin's happily married with her 3 young children. I am happily divorced with my 4 children, whom are teenagers. You have a successful career, PhD. I mean, you've accomplished so much, entrepreneur, but and I had a boutique and closed it down, and I'm still trying to sort of, find my next aha moment and my next thing. Many things that we connected on was healing of the nervous system, how that affects everything in your life, showing up more emotionally for our children and for our families, but really for ourselves. And just this desire and just having these conversations with friends, with clients, with colleagues, with neighbors. We see so many women in their midlife, 40s, 50s, 60s, who are having the same struggle and don't know or are scared of, what do I do? How do I get it back? Who is this person looking back at me in the mirror? Do I even recognize her? Is this even what I want? And again, it's not necessarily about ending a relationship or leaving a career, or it's not so much of like a black and white, make this harsh decision. It's everything kind of coming back to you and having the courage, having the support, Erin and I, this podcast, to know that you're not alone, to know that you have other women in your corner that are having the same struggles, that are still trying to figure it out. And you've mentioned doing the work. Like, this is a daily thing. This is a daily, sometimes hourly thing where we are checking in with ourselves, checking in with our nervous system, but coming back home to us to you, knowing that it's okay to like go through this healing process. Once Erin and I kind of had this aha and we're chatting, we were like, oh my gosh, we have to do this. We have to start this podcast and share with so many women who maybe don't even know what's going on or what their path is or what they're supposed to be doing, but just feel so completely dysregulated and detached from their emotions and their body. I feel like once you really start to understand the nervous system, the floodgates open. I know it's just been such a pivotal change and moment in my life just since my divorce 3 years ago. It's helped me in every relationship, my current relationship that I'm in. I mean, the old me would have left this relationship like 3 months in. But I know just like how we show up for our kids. So that's when I knew that I wanted to like partner with you and co-host this podcast with you. And I'm just so excited for all the women that we're going to meet and help and nurture and support and all the real, raw, hard, honest conversations we're going to have here. And I just couldn't think of somebody better to do it alongside with than you.
Aw, thanks, Jennie. I was so honored when you asked me. And so we talked about the why. We did a lot of the why.
Yep.
Why are we doing this podcast? Let's talk about the how we got here. So let's introduce ourselves so people actually know who we are.
Totally.
So Jennie, you already kind of started a little bit of an introduction. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself? We know you're 45. We know you're divorced. We know you have 4 kids. We know you had a boutique and closed
Yes.
it.
And that
Give
was a
us a
big
little more
moment.
details.
I started my boutique during COVID. I had a girlfriend who was like, oh my gosh, you should start a boutique. And it was a side hustle. It was a hobby. It was something for me to do. My youngest was in school and I was like, all right, what about me? I don't want a 9-to-5 career. I was never motivated for a 9-to-5 career. I always wanted to be a stay-at-home mom and have lots and lots of babies. But then my youngest went off to school and I was like, well, now what? What am I going to do now with all my time? I did the volunteering. I sat on the boards, I chaired the whatever event, but I wanted something for me and I wanted to earn some income. And I got divorced. We'll talk about that another time on another episode. But my divorce really for me left me financially having to, obviously in a divorce, take care of myself and provide for my family. So I turned my boutique into a full-time job. I decided to close it after about 4 years of being open just because you carry inventory and it is a huge financial cost. And honestly, I just was ready for the next thing. I didn't know what that next thing was. I think society puts a lot of pressure on you like, okay, time to go financially earn and go get a job. And the thought of a 9-to-5 still to this day, you want to talk about dysregulation, shuts my nervous system down. And that's something I'm working through with like my sort of fear around my ability and worthiness to earn money and be a success. I didn't want to do the whole go be a real estate agent with every other divorced woman. And yeah, I had one bad relationship after my divorce, which really opened my eyes to a lot. I'm in a really awesome relationship now where I think that we are both healing together and alongside each other, but I'm also doing a lot of healing on my own. My oldest is going to be 16 in a month and my youngest is 10 and we're doing it. I'm doing it. It's not easy, but this is the path and the life that I chose and I wouldn't change it for anything. And people keep saying that life begins at 45 or 44 or whatever. So I'm here for it. I'm here for all of the things that come alongside it. Just in dealing with my nervous system too, have changed a lot of relationships with my family. And really for me, it's about healing my inner child and my wounds from my childhood. And if you ask me what my childhood was, I had a very good childhood. I had a single mom and she did whatever she could, the best she could, all by herself. So I am very grateful for her and my siblings and love her dearly. But yeah, it's not about, I'm finding nobody's going to come and save me. There is no man that's going to come and save me, nor do I want to be saved. There is no relationship, friendship, job that is going to make me feel whole, that is going to complete me. I have to complete myself. And that is the journey that I'm on right now. And it's made me this work that I've really dove deep in the past year and a half has helped me show up as a better emotionally available mom. I used to be very quick to fix problems. I'm a people pleaser. I want to fix you. I want to make it better. I want to make the pain go away, right? We as moms, society sort of makes us take that on. So I will sacrifice myself and my career and doing my hair and my makeup and showing up outside of sweats and a sweatshirt to make sure little Johnny's okay, to make sure that he looks his best for his Christmas pageant, meanwhile leaving myself on the wayside. And I've stopped doing that and I've stopped trying to fix problems and showing up more emotionally for my children and just nurturing them through things. And I've had my older kids recognize it and be like, wow, mom, like Thanks for loving on us. Thanks for just holding us and kissing us. Not that you didn't do that before, but you were so quick to fix it and make the pain go away. And now you're just here, letting us sit in the discomfort, letting us sit in the sadness, and knowing that having those emotions and feeling them in your body is totally healthy and totally normal and needed to heal. We cannot think our way through problems. You have to feel them, and you feel them in your body. And the mind and the body are connected. And I always had a really hard time with that because as a child, I was not allowed to feel my emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And so to relearn that and apply that and not be scared of that in your mid 40s is not an easy task. So that's sort of my journey, my past, where I am, where I'm at. So yeah, why don't you share?
Well, I mean, underlined in all of that is some similarities with me. People pleaser, recovering people pleaser, as I like to say.
Oh, I like that. Recovering.
Yeah, I'm a recovering people pleaser, right? To do all the things, wasn't allowed to show my emotions growing up either, but for very different reasons. I grew up with a sister who had epilepsy, and it was triggered by emotional meltdowns. And so she would feed off my emotions, have her own emotions, and then have a seizure. So it was like this biological reason, or not biological, but physical reason to suppress my emotions.
That's heavy.
And it's heavy. It's heavy. I also lost a sister along the way growing up as well. And so working my way through that trauma, has meant that the way that I'm, recognize this now in retrospect, the way that I learned to survive that was that drive to succeed, right?
Yeah.
I was going to be the A+ student who did all the things and succeeded in it and didn't allow myself to sit in the emotions. So I kept busy, and I was a 4-sport athlete and in jazz band and, Knowledge Master Open and the play and,
Oh my God.
the musicals and everything else just to keep busy, just to keep busy, just to keep busy, to succeed, and to
busy.
suppress it all along the way. And I now have started to unpack that and recognize the impact on my nervous system and start to redefine that in myself. So a little bit more about me. That I am 40. I'll be 41 in January.
Oh my
And
gosh,
I
you're
have
like a
3
spring
young
chicken.
kids. Oh, it doesn't always feel that way. Right. Yeah. I have 3 young kids. So my husband and I are Air Force veterans, and I waited to get out of the Air Force and finish my PhD before we started having kids. And kids is a whole other journey we can talk about because we struggled to have kids. And so not only did we purposely start later, but then we had some fertility issues along the way. So my kids are 8, 7, and 5 as of the time of this recording. And it's definitely a very different stage in life being in your 40s with elementary school aged children, right? It's a whole different ballgame. And then my middle child, my oldest son, Keegan, who is 7, he's the one who has special needs. So we figured out we've known the underlying issue always has been ADHD, severe ADHD, but then also generalized anxiety, autism level 1 with a pathological demand avoidance profile. And that's the nervous system dysregulation right there with the anxiety and the pathological demand avoidance. And so that's something for a whole other podcast as well. But I was working full time, doing a job that I loved with a company that I loved and a mission that I loved. And he was then hospitalized. My husband is a pilot, so he's gone 50% of the time. So I'm a solo parent 50% of the time. And he started getting so violent that I was having issues keeping the other 2 safe when I was by myself. And so they wanted to put him in inpatient. I convinced them to do intensive outpatient because I was worried the separation anxiety would do more harm than good being fully inpatient. And so that led us down this nervous system regulation journey through the eyes of pathological demand avoidance. Learned so much about myself along the way, was able to keep my career for a while, about 9 to 10 months, and things broke. And that's a story for another episode. That whole breaking and snapping, I feel like, is something that could encompass an entire episode because we've all had those moments where suddenly we have a realization that things need to change.
Yeah.
And so the CEO was calling people back into the office, and I looked at my boss and I said, that's not going to be feasible for me, right? And she said, I know. I said, okay. And so now here I am. Unlike you, I never wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. It was that drive to succeed, right? That's what I knew. That's what I'd known for nearly 4 decades, that drive to succeed. And so I needed to succeed in order to feel better about myself and to feel like other people felt good about me, that people please mentality, and realized that I needed to leave my job. But where was that going to leave me?
Mhm.
And what did that look like? And so then when we reconnected, and, I'd been working with my therapist who said, Erin, you can't go back to work. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, fine,
I
and
can
really
hear
working
that.
on my nervous system.
Gosh.
Yeah, it is. It's hard to hear that, especially when you feel like you finally accomplished where you've been shooting to be for a decade.
Mm.
And especially with kids, along the way, and you finally feel like, oh, I got there. And
Yep.
then things break. And now it's like, okay, now what? I mean, really, legitimately,
Now
now
what?
what? And,
Oh my
you
gosh.
know,
Can we just pause? Can we pause and like acknowledge everything you've been through? Like, again, such different stories, you and I, but like also had that breaking moment that was like something has to change and it has to start with us, right? Our husband, our
mhm,
partner, our kids, they don't have to change. Everything around us is showing us, okay, this path that we were on and what we thought we were supposed to be doing and everything that we wanted, the career, the children, the everything. Okay, I finally got it, but now what? And you're like, well, now what? Now we got to come back home to ourselves. Like, you have been through it. You have dealt with a lot of little T's, big T's from your childhood all the way up to your 40s. So, like, I just want to pause a little bit. It's something my therapist always tells me, and like acknowledge how much you've survived, what you've been through emotionally, physically, financially, right? Because that takes a burden on you when you're used to two working parents who both want to work, who both love their careers, and you have to stop and stay at home. Like, that impacts everything. Your not your personality, but like your livelihood, who you are, your identity. I guess that's what I'm looking for. Like, was your career and what you did and what you built. And I just want to say, like, I am holding space for you for that because you've been through a lot and you're only 40. And I'm just really, really, really proud of you and really just wanted to acknowledge like everything you've been through and had to deal with, and to see a child who's so dependent on you for the safety, for their well-being, and to know that like he's struggling so much and that's your number one priority is to take care and make him or her feel safe, but also take care of you too so that you can show up in the best version. So I just want to acknowledge that. I just think like,
thank
wow,
you.
what you've been through, what you've
Thank
been
you.
through. And they can be little T's, big T's. We all have to kind of come back home to ourselves. And
We do. And I mean, I could flip that right back to you. I can't imagine, knowing that you needed to get out of a marriage, stepping up, being brave enough to make it happen, and making sure that your kids don't end up in therapy for life, through
because
that
of it.
whole process.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've done so much and given so much to not only help yourself, but help your kids through it all, and they're thriving.
Thank you. And it's not, and it's right. People leave marriages for different reasons. My parents divorced before I was one. So my dad was sort of in and out of my life. My mom primarily raised us. I don't think as women, we choose to get married to somebody knowing like, oh, in a couple years, I'm going to get divorced. Like, I never got married thinking I'd get divorced, hoping I'd get divorced. I loved my husband very much. Now that I look back on it, I don't know if I knew at a young age what love was or what I wanted or if I was in love, but he checked many boxes at the time.
Mhm.
And he was a very good man. He was an amazing provider and he's a very good dad. There was no abusive situation. I just was so unhappy. Takes two, but I didn't want to cheat. I didn't want to betray our wedding vows. I didn't want to live that life anymore. So to make that decision to end something, and not know what's on the other side, and then all the things that have surfaced and all the things that have come up on the other side and continue to change and evolve, have been very healing, very scary, lots of alone moments, lots
Mhm.
of loneliness. But I know that's exactly where I need to be. And that I remind myself that's why I made the hard decision to end my marriage, because I was like, I don't want to spend the second half of my life unhappy in a shell. I didn't want to cheat. And I was worried if I stayed and continued to be unhappy, I would. And I didn't want
Mhm.
to destroy my children along the process. It's hard for them. We have 50-50 custody. They hate going back and forth. They hate it, but I will tell them, and I tell them all the time, and I know Jim does too, to have two parents in your life that love you and can give you a safe home and show up for you is the rare. And especially in a divorce and a co parenting situation, we get along great. We're good friends. We always have been. And we love those children to death and they're very well taken care of. So I feel like divorce now is more the norm than maybe when we were younger. And I know that they're going to be okay, but I really wanted to show them that, like, you got to be happy. Don't
Mhm.
just stay in a situation that you don't feel good or not happy in, because that's not really living. So hopefully I didn't mess him up too much.
No, I think it's important to recognize that sometimes getting out of those relationships help your children more than staying in them.
Yeah.
And they're going to recognize that if they don't yet, because I know your children are a little bit older, so they may have understood that from the beginning.
Yeah.
And you did the right thing to make sure that you could show up as you. That's going to make you the best mom. That does make you the best mom to them.
Thank you. How was I would love to hear how your husband was navigating this, cuz right, you were saying he's a pilot. He's out of the house 50% of the time. You're at home, you're dealing with Keegan and the others. You're in the throes of it. What was his response like? What was his perspective, take, kind of, how did all that go?
It was hard for him for sure because, he wished he could be there. But when he's, an ocean away, literally, there's not much he could do. And so that was difficult for me too, because it's like I want to be honest and transparent with him about here's what's happening, here's some additional data points. But I also, struggled a little bit to tell him the absolute honest truth and not just sugarcoat things because
Mhm.
I knew he would feel guilty about not being there and not being able to help. And
Yeah.
so that was a struggle for him as well. Certainly, the impact on our finances with the lack of my income, I think, weighs on him as the sole breadwinner now. And at the same time, he knows that it's where we need to be right now.
Yeah.
And I know it's where we need to be right now. We both have our reasons for struggling with that, but we know that this is the right move to support our family in this season of life.
Yeah.
And Keegan's thriving because of it. He's able
Oh,
to now go to a full day of school, right? We've gone from not being in school at all, having to unschool when we took care of the medical situation, to two-hour tutoring sessions a week, to 2 hours, 5 days a week of school, to a half day of school, 5 days a week, to now this is our first full week at the time of this recording of full days of school.
oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah, and
amazing.
he was kicked out of school almost exactly a year ago was when, and if anybody tells you they can't kick you out of public school, they can.
Oh yeah, no, they can.
They can. They can.
100%. They can be
They
like,
can
I'm
kick
sorry,
you out. When they claim safety,
yeah.
they
And
can kick
how's
you out
he
of
doing?
public
How's
school.
Keegan? Is he happy to be back at school? I mean, and I
Yeah,
know
he's
we'll talk
asked
about
for
this on
it.
a whole other episode, but like how's his nervous system responding from a year ago, from when he was just kind of like always in fight or flight and just meltdown. I know you've changed a lot, how you parent. How is he right now? Do you notice a huge change in him and
Oh
yeah.
my gosh. Yes. So much so. He's able to successfully communicate his emotions now. Whereas before, he would, with negative emotions, he would shut down. I mean, he would go to that limbic part of his brain and just either be in fight. And he actually used to go nonverbal with negative emotions as well. He wouldn't be able to communicate. He communicates through everything now. He's able to recognize things in himself and triggers in himself. And, he's more in the frontal part of his brain so that he can process everything and actually handle situations with logic and reasoning balanced with emotion now, rather as before it was just that full emotional survival response. And he's asked for the increase in schooling every step of the way. It's always
Amazing.
been him driving the next step. It's just been an absolutely incredible transformation. And so, yeah, that shift, that lens, not only was it a gift to us in order to better recognize how to parent Keegan, support Keegan, get him healing, but that gift in that switch of to nervous system perspective of life has helped each and every one of us as individuals as well,
Yeah.
not just in support of him, but for every single one of us.
Yeah. Well, and like our kids pick up on our emotions and our emotional
Mhm.
stability and how our nervous system responds and how we respond, right? I mean, kids at a very young age at birth look to their parents, look to their mom, their caregiver for reassurance, for safety, for acceptance. And we'll kind of go into that again in another episode, but to be able to be in a regulated place and be emotionally present for them, to know that they feel safe, they pick up on that, and that 1000% impacts their moods. I notice that with my teenagers. I mean, I notice
Yeah.
that in my relationships, right? My relationship with
Mhm.
he's not going to want to be named on here, so we'll have to come up with my neighbor. Okay, so everyone, my boyfriend is my neighbor, so we're just going to refer to him as my neighbor.
Who is the neighbor in Home Improvement? What was his name? Wilson?
Wilson, should we call
We'll
him
call him
Wilson?
Wilson. Let's call
Okay.
him Wilson. He's
You'll
like
love
looking
that.
over the fence, right?
Yes, with just the eyes. Okay, so my boyfriend is Wilson, and I just in how I show up with him, right? And just the nervous system work and how I don't project sort of my emotional at the beginning of it. And in my past relationships, I would, if I felt dysregulated, if I felt like something was out of control with one of my kids, or Miles was upset about something, or one of the girls was upset, I would immediately look to my partner to self-soothe me, to make sure that you're okay, right? You're not going to leave me and you love me and you're going to self-soothe me and you're going to be there, right? And I learned with him, with Wilson early on, like that's not, without him telling me, I realized that's not your job. It's not your job to self-soothe me and to reassure me and to calm my nervous system. Yes, you can regulate together in a relationship, but I was putting a lot on him subconsciously. And I've stopped doing that. And in the process that I've stopped doing that, he's leaned in more. He's shown up more because he doesn't feel the pressure, my anxious energy hitting on the gas so much and needing so much emotional from him. And look, we've got 9 kids, okay? He's got 5, I've got 4. We have a lot of responsibilities, but
That is a lot.
I am taking care of me. And in taking care of me and not projecting so much on him, it's bettered our relationship. I don't know if he knows that or not. I don't even know if he's going to listen to this. I don't even know if I've told him that I'm doing a podcast because
I feel like you have.
I feel like he'd be like, you're doing a what? Like you closed down your boutique because you were going to go and be more financially responsible and now you're starting a podcast? I'd be like, yes, people desperately want to hear what we have to say.
They just don't know it yet.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh, I think you hit on something that's really important, maybe to wrap this first episode up with, is that, a lot of codependency is actually a need for nervous system regulation. And that's one of the 4 S's of nervous system regulation that we have, changed our parenting style around is that safe nervous system. And so who's that safe nervous system for all of us? And as moms, especially moms in midlife, we almost need to be that safe nervous system for everybody else around us. And that's hard because then we pick up on everybody else's dysregulation. And if we're not dysregulated ourselves, or if we are dysregulated and not regulated ourselves, then yeah, it's hard. It's difficult. And so it's like that old adage of put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you put it on others. This is the moment in time, this midlife season, where we have to focus on that even more.
100%.
Stop, regulate ourselves, find ourselves, re-identify with who we are in this season so that we can better go out there and impact everyone else.
Definitely. And I will just add to that is, look, you're going to be triggered. You're going to be triggered in relationships. You're going to be triggered in maybe an argument with your spouse or a best friend, or your children are going to say or do something that really just irks you and upsets you. And you can be in the best relationship. You can be in a new dating relationship. You can be in a separated relationship with your spouse, whatever it might be. You got to dig deep and use your tools. And we'll share all that again in another episode because I know a lot of people want to go deeper on nervous system stuff. And while we're no experts, we can speak from experience. And that's really what this podcast is about, is us speaking from our experience and how we wish we had people who had been through what we were going through when we were going through it, that we could turn to, that understood what we were talking about and what we were saying. And you're going to get triggered. You're going to get dysregulated, but you got to stop, use your tool, reconnect with yourself, and everything around you will shift and will change. And you will realize how to look at a situation or a relationship, and you'll have a better idea as to how you want to move about and continue in that relationship, if at all. So I'm excited to dive deep in this. We would love to hear from you guys if you love this first episode, what you want to hear more of, what you want us to talk about. I mean, we've got like 20 episodes lined up because we know we could just kind of keep going deep on all these different topics. But we are here to let you know that you're not alone, to let you know that we are all asking the question, midlife, now what? And that we all look in the mirror on a daily basis and are like, is this it? Is this my life? Is this where I'm at? Am I happy? Am I fulfilled? Am I leading with desire, or am I reacting from a fear?
And that's how we ended up here. 2 women, 2 very different stories, but feeling the same thing. And so this isn't going to be the place where we tell you to meditate more, to journal harder, to drink more lemon water, no hustle culture, no mom shaming. No
Yep.
toxic positivity. We will not be telling you to look on the bright side while your life is actively on fire.
Or that it is what it is. No one-liners.
Right? No one-liners. And absolutely no pretending that we ourselves have it all together, because spoiler alert, we do not. And there will be tangents. There will be tears.
Cursing, but we will
be cursing.
figure it out here. And it's a safe place to lean on each other and ask questions and ask hard questions. We're going to have a whole question box on here too, so you guys can write in questions. You can tell us stories. You can say, hey, here's my situation, and we'll talk about it and offer you support or advice just based on experience and living.
And there will be honesty and lots of it. And maybe some wine.
And maybe some tears.
And maybe some tears. So we don't have the answers, but we do have the stories. We're not doing this alone anymore. We're doing this all together. Not just me and Jennie, all of us. So if all of this resonated with you, please make sure you like, subscribe, and share, comment, drop those questions like Jennie said. Our website is www.midlifenowwhatpodcast.com. We do have a contact us. Let us know what you would like to hear. We will be evolving this podcast with you based on our stories, your stories, all of our wants and needs as women in midlife. All right, before we go, this is something we are going to be doing with every show. We're going to wrap up with now what our recommendations for the week. These are things that are getting us through the week that we want to share with you. So I'm going to start with my quote of the week, which is, "You haven't lost yourself. You've just outgrown the version of you that survived before."
Oh,
So I feel like we are all evolving. Or I know, right? It's been on repeat for me this week.
I'm going to write that on my mirror in lipstick.
Do it. You haven't lost yourself. You've just outgrown the version of you that survived before. We all outgrow things. And so my book of the week is something that actually is very relatable. I didn't even mean to finish this book this week, but I did. And it's so relatable to what we're talking about here on this podcast. It's called The Change by Kirsten Miller. It's a magical realism book. I love novels. You all are going to learn that. And this one's magical realism. It's about women in midlife. They're all 38 to 48. And they suddenly gain magical powers once the chaos of life has started to subside. And they solve a murder that was driven by the patriarchy using their womanly powers in midlife.
Ooh, I love that.
It was so good. I was so impressed with it. I don't even remember how I found it. It was one of those things I needed a book quickly, and it came up as a recommended one. I'm like, sounds good.
I love that. I'm gonna have to get that one because I just finished my book and I'm like, well, now what? Now what do I read?
Yeah. Well, there you go. The Now What is The Change by Kirsten Miller. And so we'll have links to all of this in the show notes as well, in addition to how to contact us, etc.
So my book of the week, my book of like the moment that was really like an aha moment for me, is called Becoming the One by Shaylee. I'm not even going to try to pronounce her last name. She's somebody I found through Jillian on Love on Instagram. If you follow her, I love Jillian on Love. She talks a lot about like relationships and really just the nervous system and coming back home to you. But the book, Becoming the One, I just actually got it for my sister and sent it to her in Hawaii because she's dealing with some stuff, but just life-changing. Like, I want to give it to Wilson and I really want him to read it, and I don't think he will. But I'm like, will you please read this? Yeah.
Yep. They have to want it themselves, though.
Yes, exactly.
If you love this conversation, make sure to follow,
Share with
leave
your
a quick
friends.
review. It really helps more women find their way here. Share it with your friends. Let us know what you want to hear next. So until next time,
You're not broken. You're just becoming.
thanks, everyone.